It's 11:30, so we'll go ahead and get started. I want to thank you all for attending the Monday weekly briefing. I'm meteorologist Nick Lucchetti here at the Raleigh office. Today's briefing will cover the period today, December 9th, through Sunday, December 15th. So we'll just start off here with the upcoming weather pattern for this time period. So we had some light rain move through this morning. Has generally, for the most part, the most widespread portion of it has moved east of our area. We do have some lingering lighter rain moving across the Piedmont right now. That generally should move east of the area through this afternoon. But we will see a little bit cooler temperatures today compared to yesterday. RDU actually hit 69 yesterday, so it's quite warm yesterday, but we'll have cooler highs today, mostly in the upper 50s. It should peak later this afternoon with some isolate the scattered light rain moving across through the rest of today. As we get into the overnight period tonight and pretty much through most of tomorrow on Tuesday, we will have some additional scattered showers moving up from the south in the overnight period and continuing waves of scattered showers through tomorrow. Overall, the QPF for tomorrow doesn't look incredibly intense from these scattered showers. But that's what we're looking at on Tuesday. One thing to note, there does look like a pretty good signal for potentially some dense fog, particularly across the western Piedmont late tonight into the overnight period and into the early morning commute time out there, perhaps impacting those in the triad, specifically in the southern Piedmont. So that's something to think about in the overnight period. I'll have a graphic on that here in a second, the next slide as well. To reiterate that here in a second. Beyond that, again, should be pretty scattered showers tomorrow until we get into the overnight period, and that's when we'll start to see our expected band of moderate to heavy rain approaching from the west and south. That band should mostly stay to our west tomorrow night. However, it will pivot across the area ahead of and along a cold front, which you can see in the upper right graphic being depicted here on Wednesday. It will pivot, that moderate to heavy rain will pivot east across our area through the Wednesday night into early Thursday period. And there's some potential hazards with that, which I'll discuss in a couple slides. After that rain moves out of here, we do have a cold front sweeps through, and we'll return to some cooler temperatures for Thursday afternoon all the way through Saturday, with highs back into the 40s and overnight lows in the 20s. We will see temps warm up a little bit on Sunday, back into the 50s. It generally looks dry from Thursday onward. However, there is a little uncertainty with perhaps some rain reapproaching on Sunday, Saturday night into Sunday. There's a little uncertainty with that right now, but overall looks relatively dry. So the most impactful period is going to be the next 48 hours or so with the system that's approaching from the west. So this is just a quick graphic to show some probabilities using our highest res models, resolution models here. It's an ensemble of those models, and this image is spitting out a probability specifically of visibility being less than a half a mile. And this is a 6-hour period. So this is from 1 a.m. tonight through 7 a.m. Tuesday morning. And you can see here where you have the brighter yellow and orange colors, that's where you have some higher probabilities. So, we're seeing anywhere from, 40 to 50% chance of seeing a half mile or less during that time period out in the Triad, Asheboro area, perhaps some higher probabilities as you progress down into the closer to the southern Piedmont there. So there's definitely a pretty good signal for the foothills into the western Piedmont for that dense fog potential early tomorrow morning. So shifting back to the main weather system, this is the images we like to show of the QPF. This is 24-hour QPF in each of these blocks. So for today, this upper left panel here, you can see my cursor. Again, we're gonna have kind of lighter amounts. I think so far we've had a couple tenths of an inch out, particularly across the western part of this county warning area, central North Carolina. But for the rest of today, this is valid from this morning through 7 a.m. tomorrow. We're expecting anywhere from a quarter inch to half inch, particularly across the south where those scattered showers might be a little bit more intense, but nothing too crazy in the overnight period. As we get to Tuesday, this is again valid from 7 a.m. tomorrow, Tuesday, through 7 a.m. Wednesday. So you can see that we start to see some of those higher amounts associated with this system, this main band of moderate to heavy rain that is expected to move east across the area into Wednesday evening in the Thursday night morning period. You do see that we are picking up some of that in this QPF plot here. So we start to see some of those higher totals inching into the Western Piedmont here, anywhere from an inch and a quarter to an inch and a half in this general vicinity out here west of Raleigh. And then on Wednesday, you can see that main band pivots east across the area. We're looking at anywhere from, an inch to an inch and a half generally at this point. Thursday and Friday are dry on these plots. I didn't plot Saturday and Sunday, but get the idea for once the system moves through. And if we tally up the 7-day total in this lower right panel here, you can see that generally speaking, expecting anywhere from, maybe 2.5 to 3 inches out in the western area. There's been pretty good consistency amongst guidance, pinpointing a swath that you see there in the foothills and the lower southern Appalachian Mountains, particularly down into Georgia and South Carolina, but even extending up into our western Piedmont of maybe some higher totals, mostly in that Tuesday to Wednesday time period, obviously. And then further east you go, there's lower amounts, but still looking at anywhere from an 1.5 to 2 inches, even down into the coastal plain. I would say as well, there is a chance that we could see a little bit more convective nature to the line that's going to the band that's going to push through, especially as it gets east of I-95. I'll talk about thunderstorm chances with that, but I wouldn't be surprised if perhaps we could see some heavier downpours embedded with any thunderstorms that could develop perhaps in that area. I'll discuss that a little bit more here in a second. That's the general overall QPF expected with this system. So with the potential for the moderate to heavier rain, we do have the Weather Prediction Center has put out a marginal risk for isolated flash flooding both Tuesday night, which is the center panel here, through Wednesday morning. That primarily is in the western and parts of the southern Piedmont, which again, if you remember the QPF map from the previous slide, that's kind of where you start seeing that heavier band starts to move in kind of in the overnight Tuesday and Wednesday morning period. So that's why they're highlighting that potential there. So we could see some isolated flash flooding potential, particularly in the urban areas with this system. And then as it moves east across the area, you can see that in the right panel here, it does pivot to more into the kind of triangle eastward vicinity as that main band moves across. So not expecting widespread flooding concerns with this or anything like that, but surely could definitely see some heavier rain rates and the classically vulnerable areas could potentially see some brief instances of flash flooding. So that's something to be to monitor here. So I kind of talked about this a little bit on a couple slides ago about maybe a thunderstorm chance, particularly on Wednesday afternoon east of I-95. You can see that the Storm Prediction Center does have us in what's called general thunder. So they're not expecting any severe weather necessarily, but those embedded showers, the upper left panel here is for today and tonight. Those embedded showers I mentioned coming in late tonight across the south, perhaps you could hear a crack of thunder. We're generally pretty stable, so I wouldn't expect to see much lightning or anything. Again, on Tuesday, we continue to be pretty stable. However, they have outlined us in general thunder again, where there could be some cracks of thunder. Generally, I think we'll be pretty stable though, and shouldn't see too much lightning activity on Tuesday either. When we get into the Wednesday period, it gets a little interesting. The guidance shows us being relatively stable overall. However, as this band moves east and as it gets close to and into the I-95 corridor, There could be some instability that moves up into that area, and with that, I would say there's a low end risk given how strong the winds aloft will be, the shear will be. We could see if some of that instability can be realized, there could be a non-zero chance for some severe weather. So as of now, we're highlighting no severe weather threat, just given that the Storm Prediction Center has not added any kind of severe potential as far as like a marginal or slight or anything like that. But we'll continue to monitor this and see latest guidance, and wouldn't be surprised if perhaps they might introduce some kind of marginal in that area. I think the better chance would be more towards the coast as of what I've seen so far, but definitely something to monitor, just given how strong the flow aloft will be. I think the main threat, if there is any severe weather, would be more of a damaging wind threat for us, and more of a perhaps a tornado threat towards the coast. But again, still a little early to determine those details, whatnot. So I think that's it for the system. So this is just a graphic matrix here that is outlining all the hazards that I mentioned over the next couple of days. So just to highlight, reiterate again, for the overnight period today, you can see that there's a pretty, this is categorized as a significant threat for some dense fog, again, particularly across the Western Piedmont. It could stretch into the Raleigh area, but I think it's better chance out there in the foothills in the Piedmont. It is highlighting again Tuesday night, kind of a similar area. I didn't really discuss that, but Tuesday and the Wednesday, there could be another chance for some denser fog in the same kind of vicinity. And then again, perhaps some potential, a slight chance for some excessive rainfall, which could lead to some isolated flash flooding, particularly in those urban areas. Maybe more so in the triad than the triangle. But yeah, so perhaps some isolated flash flooding will be possible during that period. And then overall, some general thunder is expected over the next couple of days, but we'll have to monitor the classic east of I-95 corridor there for perhaps some isolated severe storm potential. So now looking a little bit further ahead, we like to show the Climate Prediction Center's 8 to 14 day temperature and precipitation outlook. So we'll focus on the temperature panel here on the left. So this is valid for the period December 16th through the 22nd. So it looks like we are favoring the guidance is favoring a maybe slightly above normal temperatures in that period, which you can see down below here is generally highs in the mid 50s and lows in the mid 30s. So perhaps a little bit warmer during that period. And there is the odds are basically favoring normal precipitation during this period. So there's no signal for above or below normal precipitation. So that's pretty straightforward. So just to summarize here, again, we have that light rain moving across the area right now that should generally exit east of the area through this afternoon. However, we are expecting scattered showers overnight and throughout the day Tuesday. There is that dense fog potential, particularly across the Western Piedmont tonight into early Tuesday, and perhaps again on Tuesday night into Wednesday. So that's something to monitor as we approach tomorrow's morning commute. And then we're going to have, like I said, waves of a main band, but some waves of moderate to heavy rain is expected to move across the area starting Tuesday night and through much of the day Wednesday. And behind that, a front will clear through and dry things out and keep things relatively cool into the early weekend. And then again, there's some uncertainty, but there could be a slight chance for some rain on Sunday. And the hazards, again, the dense fog I already mentioned, maybe some isolated flash flooding potential Tuesday night through Wednesday. And then again, we're not expecting severe weather at this time, but we'll continue to monitor that area east of I-95. And with that, I can take any questions that you might have. Thank you for the kind words, Virginia. Yes, we are glad for the rain as well. It's been pretty dry, so I think this will be beneficial for sure.